I've been very vocal about my frustration over Alberta's stranded oil supply. I'm going to break it down for you tonight. Alberta is no surprise, has been feeding our families here in New Brunswick and elsewhere in the country for years with their profits from oil exports. I expected that to be an item of urgency, a crisis, in the First Minister's meeting back in December. But it wasn't. It wasn't even on the agenda. Well, we put it on the agenda. And it became a topic. But there was no interest from Quebec to even consider it. There's no interest for a utility energy corridor where we would have a national strategy, much like the railroad years and years ago. Now that a resource is stranded because it doesn't have a pipeline to move it to market, Alberta is losing $80 million a day on its oil. And anyone who thinks that won't eventually affect every province, including New Brunswick, who is being paid by the money from those resources, who in transfer payments, we're fooling ourselves. That is why we are working to build a national coalition of provinces who see the importance of a pipeline, of an energy corridor, to transition into fuels, into a clean energy environment. Provinces have a responsibility to each other to allow every Canadian to choose energy from Canadian producers rather than rely upon the cost and moral compromises of foreign oil. I know that Quebec wants to look at transmission lines to allow them to sell electricity to New England, and so they should. And we would like to work with them on that. And as a Canadian, I want that for them too. But it can't be a one-way street. It can't be all for one. It's got to be that we work together for the right reasons. We're all part of Canada. We're all part of a nation that we want strong. And this province that was so strong and helped to finance the Central Canada many years ago. The Bank of Nova Scotia, formed in 1832 or somewhere in that range in Halifax. I mean, we have a history here of an economy and a strength. And now we're kind of left on the tail end of the country. Well, our days are going to change because our voice is going to be heard. I cannot be bought. Province want access to our grids and our territory to move the stranded assets. I will expect equal concern for them for our economic future. The prospect of the corridor, which I mentioned. When I say we need to grow our economy and create an opportunity, that means for everyone. You know, I want to note here tonight, with the presence of the Regional Chief Roger Augustine, who's here, and the Chief Ken Barlow, I believe, as well as the First Nations Chiefs. I'm not sure where you are, but you're here tonight. And I want to make special note because I see the elected First Nations governments as true partners in what we are trying to accomplish. As First Nation governments deserve the autonomy to make their own decisions and work with us for the prosperity of New Brunswick. One area that we can work together is in the management of our salmon stocks. We will be asking the federal government to allow for management of our rivers and local fisheries at the provincial level. I believe with the council and traditional knowledge of First Nations, we can do a better job of management of declining salmon stock here than has ever been done from Ottawa. With elected First Nations leaders towards a new, less paternalistic approach to governing where First Nations can truly manage their local economies. We need to look at industrial exploration and movement. We need to look at resource development. We need to look at best forestry practice. There's such an opportunity for us to work together with one goal in mind, and that's rebuilding, fixing, and seeing a New Brunswick that brings people home. Now I want to talk about something that I call 50-cent dollars. You've probably heard me mention that before. I'm calling on the federal government to provide support for priorities that move our economy forward. We need to change the belief that every time Ottawa offers us a 50-50 funding project, we need to take the deal or we are losing money. That doesn't sound like a bargain to me, something that I don't need, but I must spend money together. That sounds like a quick way to lose control of your own spending and your own priorities. If you had to buy a big screen TV every time Walmart offered you a 50% discount, you wouldn't be a smart shopper, but you certainly have a lot of TVs. And you'd have a big debt. Offering 50-cent dollars is a way for Ottawa to control our spending around their priorities, not New Brunswickers. And that's the difference. We have priorities, we have a voice, and we want help, but we want help in where we need it. Their needs are driven by federal election cycle, not the need to provide quality education in Doketown and a good seniors care in Shipping. Our government will be challenging Ottawa to develop a funding model that makes them true partners to help maintain the infrastructure we already have.